Hey there folks, Mike Seeklander here with the American Warrior Society and Team Wilson Combat. And today I want to talk to you about grip mechanics and how to truly control the recoil of your handgun while still shooting very accurately. Now here's the deal. In this particular technique, one size doesn't fit all. So you're going to have to tweak with some of the things I'm going to talk to you about in this video in a live fire drill that I'm going to show you later to see what works for you best. So for my demonstration piece, I'm actually using the Wilson Combat X-Tac Elite. This is the comp model, 9mm, shoots very, very good. And I'm going to show you how good it recovers along with the proper grip in the live fire drill. So let's talk about why and how we control the recoil. The why is pretty simple. You want to be able to shoot as accurately as possible and as fast as possible, irregardless of whether or not you're a competitive shooter or a defensive shooter. And in order to do that, I've got to understand that when the firearm recoils, it recoils to the rear, and the mass of the slide is on the upper part of the gun. So it's obvious I need to get both hands high on the gun. Now I'm going to show you a couple secrets along the way. When I drive my strong hand onto the handgun in the holster, oftentimes I'm building that really high grip by moving it from the rear of the gun. That's a little secret for you, because if I just place my hand on the back strap of the gun, oftentimes I'll get a pretty high grip, but not nearly as high as I want. And what I want is, I want to take the web of my hand and I literally want to pressure it up into the back strap or the tang or the beaver tail of the firearm I'm shooting. Now what I feel when I do this is pressure between the web of my hand as well as my middle finger and the trigger guard. Now, two things that are happening while I'm gripping the handgun like this. I'm keeping my finger off the trigger and I'm flagging my strong hand thumb. And the reason I'm flagging my strong hand thumb is I want to leave the surface area of this grip handle open so I can get it into place when I actually build my full grip on the handgun. If I allow the grip to go down or the thumb to go down, for example, I'm going to cause problems because I'm actually going to flex the muscle of my thumb, and that's going to push my support hand farther down the gun. Now for this particular firearm, of course it's a 1911 style, I've got to have my thumb on top of the thumb safety anyways, but that key secret is really, really important. Now, to build the grip, I'm actually going to start from an index point that I jokingly call the Judy chop point. You can Google that and find out why I call that later on. But the point is, it's actually a point between the bottom of the trigger guard and my fingers. And this allows me to place the index finger on my support hand on a specific spot, and I know that I'm going to roll into my firing grip the exact same way each and every time. And that consistency is what you want when you're building your firing grip. Now some secrets. Number one, when I'm actually firing the handgun, how hard am I gripping it? Well, I'm literally gripping it as hard as I can without shaking, but I'm doing a couple other things while I'm gripping the handgun. And what I'm doing is counter-rotating the torques in my hand. So to give you an example, if you can imagine screwing a jar lid on with your strong hand and a jar lid off with your support hand, and I'm right-handed of course, flip-flop that if you're left-handed. What that will do when I'm gripping the handgun is that counter-rotates my hands and increases the torque on the back of the gun. Remember, earlier in the video I said the gun recoils to the rear, and the force is actually in the top part of the gun because that's what's moving, the slide is moving. So the more pressure I put on the back of the gun, the better off I am. When you practice your grip building drill, I'm going to have you start from that index point under the trigger guard. And you can figure out where that index point is by simply building a perfect two-handed grip and making sure the palm of the hand is truly in contact with as much of the grip handle as possible, and then wrapping that index finger around. And I notice right away that that's the spot that I actually hit underneath the trigger guard. So that's my special spot I want to index. So when I practice my grip mechanics, I practice from there, extending, building the grip. And notice the left hand lays into place before my right thumb wipes the safety off and finalizes that grip building process. Once again, left hand lays into place. Right now, both hands are counter-rotating their torque, so basically the palms of my hands are squeezing together on the back of the gun. And then last but not least, I want to make sure my tendons are locked up and my elbows are locked up, and that my body weight is somewhat aggressive and forward, and my nose is over my toes or in front of my toes. And this grip building process will allow you to control the recoil to the maximum of your ability. Now, when you're experimenting with your grip building drills, for example, try more pressure and less pressure. And one thing that I oftentimes see with my students is most of the time they undergrip the handgun. They hold the handgun versus grip the handgun. So when you're shooting, you've got to grip the handgun. Number 2, really experiment with that counter rotation, that torque, so you can increase the palm pressure in the back of the gun. And then last but not least, make sure everything is locked up. Now, one last thing I see with shooters is oftentimes they take these elbows and they flare them too high. Every time I start to flare my elbows too high, what I do in essence is start to pull the palms of my hands together at the bottom. And I really want the palms of my hands together equally on the back of the gun to make sure the grip is nice and equal on the back of the gun. And that allows me to have good neutral recovery of the firearm, okay? Just like this. Counter rotate my palms of my hands, lock my tendons, and once again, I'm gripping really hard. Not so hard that I would start shaking, but just beyond that point where I'm not shaking and I've got a firm grip on the handgun. So I'm truly using my entire body to control the recoil, because this grip mechanic, this grip technique will work for you ladies and you smaller males, as well as you big gorilla strong guys that are out there. It's got to work for everyone. And if you follow the principles that I'm giving you, it'll work for you. So I've talked to you about the grip mechanics. I want to show you a live fire drill in a future video and let you work on your best shooting.